Hello, welcome to Guzworks. I'm Guz, and this is KSP Lessons. Going to be going over docking. Going to be teaching you. Ooh, whoa, 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 whoa. This craft is very nimbly bimbly. Wow. Going to be teaching how to dock. Right now I'm just trying to get the station section that I'm going to be docking into orbit. There's already a station in orbit, and I was going to make a video about that, but I actually did, and I didn't like it. I felt like there was nothing really significant to learn that I could teach you about a station. They need power, they need to be cool, they need to have something like fuel in them to be functional, you know, useful in Kerbal Space Program to some degree. But yeah, for the most part, that's really it. Those are the principles. That's really what you need, and I'm over-thrusting here. That's really what you need to know, is that make them, use your imagination, make them fun, make them cool, and that's about it. Now we're going to be working on docking a section that I should have put on it already up there, but it's good to learn for the purposes of docking. So what we're doing, the strategy we're going to use, is we're going to try to make orbit like normal, except depending on where we're at, we're going to make our orbit base sort of around getting to that, and I hate when it does that. It fixes the focus on Kerbin, and I totally need it right here. Okay. Up to 23,000, we're gonna gun it. Take a look at this. We're really picking up a lot of speeds. We're gonna tilt over quick, approaching 30,000 kilometers, and just get that lateral velocity. It's gonna push out on its own, so we're gonna gun it. Probably could have done it a little slower for a little more efficiency. When you're going to dock, you want to. There we go. When you're heading to dock, you want to push your apoapsis. I mean, usually, this is what I do. You want to push your apoapsis out to the orbit of the target. So this target's at about 109. We're going to go to about 109. I mean, it changes, it varies, but we're going to go around there. Come on, push it out. Push it out. And I'm going to go over what these markers and things mean there. Generally giving you information as to where you're at in relation to the target. And looking good. Alright. Now by doing this, I'm getting myself on an inclination in a way that I'm going to be, at some point, intersecting with this station. We got a couple minutes before apoapsis, so I'm just going to talk briefly about some of the mechanics we're going to use. There are a couple things to know about docking, and you really need to know about orbits to make them work, so let's go over them. The station, or in this case, the target, any target that you're trying to rendezvous with, you need to know whether you're in front or behind it. What do I mean? Well, literally, the station is here, Station 1, my craft is here. When I get into orbit, I'm still going to be behind it. Technically, it's a circle, so you could consider me in front. It really just depends how close you are to the other craft. So, if I'm behind it, if you're behind your target, what you want to do is make sure when you make your orbit, make it an orbit that's smaller than the other orbit. It's going to help you catch up to it, because you're orbiting faster. I know, an odd concept, but that's exactly how it works. If you are ahead of your target, you want to make your orbit smaller. Now, I don't always use maneuver nodes, but it can be useful in docking. Watch how it changes these points. These points are your approaches, your intercepts, your closest approach to your target. Each one corresponds to its own color, so when I'm talking about the pink one, or the pinkish-orangish one, or however you want to define this color, it's going to be doing it with the other pinkish-orangish one. What's that one? We're going to want to keep it low, because we're going to have to do that. Put it down to about 70, a little more. Still got a moment, so I can still adjust, and take your time, make sure it's good. Might as well make a note on using maneuver nodes at this point. When you want to use maneuver nodes, when you make one, this blue targeting reticle on the nav ball is showing you where you need to be burning to do the node you just set up. Down on the right, there will be information. Down on the right of the nav ball, the bottom right, there will be information as to how long you need to burn, how long till the node. And the great part about that is you can kind of not use the map mode, sit out here and appreciate the view while you take a look at that. And the bar with the velocity, the speed listed there, is a delta V bar. Essentially, that's how much you need to burn, how much delta V you're going to be using for that. It can be very, very useful information. To make the maneuver node, you right-click you left-click anywhere on your orbital path, add maneuver node, and then it will come up. Normally, when you do this, you'll be using mostly your retrograde, which corresponds to the marker you would see on the nav ball, and retrograde and prograde markers. I was pointing at the wrong one when I said it, and the up and down inclination for inclination change for these moments, like you see at the ascending and descending node, where I'm not exactly level with my target. We're coming up on it here, so I want to watch this burn so we can get a better view. So here we go. And instead of watching the orbital inclination in the map, which I could do, and it'd probably be a little more precise, I'm going to watch it out here because I want to see the graphics. I want to see the beauty of getting in an orbit around Kerbin. And this is pretty much correct. This is saying how much more we need to burn. If it's a little off, we can always just adjust it right afterward. And voila. Now, what are we looking at? Oh, 66, not quite. Very light burn, and voila, we're in orbit. Alright, next thing you're going to want to do, now that we have an orbit, and it's smaller than the station, so we'll eventually catch up to it. It might take a while with this. Normally you want to kind of vary it more, but we don't have the room to. If I were to make this smaller, too much smaller, I would be going back into atmosphere, and that's unacceptable. Next, you want to make a maneuver node at either the ascending or descending node, because we want to correct this inclination difference. That way we're a little closer to where the station's going to be. If you make it at the ascending node, you want to put it at descending. Okay, you want to decrease that inclination, and you want to do so. Oop, too far. To the point where they switch or trying to switch. Midway's good. Even if it just says 0.0, you're pretty close, and that's fine. Okay, and now we simply need to find where. Rule to orient myself. Left side is the planet, right side is everything else. Since we're going to the ascending node, I know we need to point down, because I'm going to burn down to eliminate that. And voila, look at that, I was right. Woohoo! And the only reason I could do that is because I oriented myself right. It's one of the hardest parts about docking is people have folks have issues with getting their orientations right, and kind of losing their orientation space, getting frustrated and just burning wildly, burning too much, and it's like being really frustrated and doing over-exaggerated moves in a dance, and completely and utterly destroying the look and feel and rhythm and everything of that dance. It won't be right, your partner's going to hate you, and you're never going to really come together. And that's where we're going to learn. We're going to fix it. Just time warping up to this point. Somebody's messaging me on Steam. I warped a little too far, no biggie. And voila, should be fixed. Hopefully. Kill my thing. By the way, to kill the node, if you're past it and you click on it, it will automatically give you the option to just kill it with the little red X. If you want to kill it prematurely, while it's up, right-click on it, and it'll bring up the X. So what do we do now? We need to intercept this. Our closest approaches are 1,100 kilometers and 1,100 kilometers. Well, now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to time accelerate. Now, if you have a time-sensitive mission, this probably isn't the way you want to go. But, see, I'm trying to refocus on my ship and not Kerbin, because this is really confusing looking. You know what we're going to switch away from it for a moment. And switch back just to get rid of this stupid focus. That's getting on my nerves. and I can never figure out how to get it back. If you know how, please comment, let me know. I can teach you about how to do these parts of KSP. I can't teach you the basic controls, apparently. Fun fact, if you're on the map view, when you switch, you will be zoomed out very far. Okay. Now we're back. We want to reset our target, Station 1. Okay. And we've gone around some, and what's happened? Well, we're getting closer. It was 1100, now we're at 1000. Again, explanation on the markers. Colors correspond to each other. This is where you will be, and when you're here, this is where the station will be. So that's that 1009 kilometer separation. Same here. Orange corresponds with orange. When you reach this point, you're going to be 1,110 kilometers away from this point where the station is. And let's watch it change as we warp up to it. Just that real quick. Boom. It moved. Now, just take a look real quick. When we're here, we'll be 1,009 kilometers from the station, which will be here. And here, 1,015 away from when it's here. Now we're not catching up to it at a fast rate. And what we could do is increase our orbit out to here or something like that. Oh, we'd be going slower and the station could catch up to us again. It might actually be a little faster at this point, but I'm trying to illustrate a point. If you're behind the station and you make your orbit smaller, you will catch up to it. You're going around faster because your orbit is smaller. It takes you less. You get to go around more times and thus catch up to it. You see, I have my first orbiter in orbit from the orbit mission. I've got a Delta V tester, and let's take a look how that's doing. 910. We're getting there, guys. We're really getting there. I swear. At this point, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stop it, and we'll get it accelerated up. That way, you don't have to wait on all this. Literally, what's gonna happen? We're gonna go around until it gets to that point. And the issue we have right now is because we're so low, we can't time warp. Mistake on my part, design mistake. I'll fix it right now by just accelerating the video. So I'll see you in a sec. And we're back. Now, we haven't completed what we're doing, but we've caught up a lot. That took about 2 minutes at warp, and normally it won't take this long. But one thing you do need to understand is, without a lot of planning ahead of time, your docking can take a while, and even with a lot of planning, docking can take a while. But the reason I stopped this a little early, and I'm going to keep it warping while we go over this, is just a couple little points I wanted to go over with you. Let's say you're in this orbital ballet, and you're trying to catch up, or have your target catch up to you. If for some reason you're not getting closer to your target, pay attention to why that might be. Try to figure it out. The two main things are either your orbit is smaller than the target's when you're ahead of it, which means eventually you'll catch up. Well, eventually you'll meet each other, but it will take longer. And or your orbit's larger, and while your target's behind you, which means you're going to be. That means it's going to take longer either way. Again, if your target is ahead of you, make your orbit smaller. You'll get around faster to catch up to it. If your target is behind you, make your orbit larger, and there you go. This really can take a lot of times. Time accelerate, watch your markers, and see how they go. We can see how they're changing, and we know they're working. 268 kilometers away. I'm getting closer every time. One thing that helps, watch how much it changes by. It's been changing by 80 to 100-ish, I think, every time we go around, which can tell you, hey, this is how many go-arounds before I get really close. What we want to do is make sure this happens. We want to go around until we're going to get to 10 to 50 kilometers, and if you get better than that, well, so be it. But okay, actually, it was a lot more. It's like 140. So on my next pass, I'm probably going to, because I know it's changing to like 120, it's more than what this is. I'm going to let us, on this next pass, I'm going to adjust the orbit so that it won't change so much. And that way, we will end up a bit closer, I won't overshoot it. And I'll tell you what I mean when we get up here. Now watch. If you look, the next go around, I will be past it. And that's unnecessary. So I'm just going to make a quick change. What I want to do, and we're going to do it without a marker, just to demonstrate, you know, how these mechanics are working. What we want to do is increase our orbit. We want it to be closer to what its orbit is, so we're not going that much faster than it. Okay. If you want to go faster in your orbits, you make them smaller. If you want to go slower in your orbits, you make them larger. It takes longer to get around the bigger circle. Think about it like that. Now watch what happens with these markers as we change this. You see they get closer, and from here we can actually adjust it so that we get to where we want to be. 1.6, 0.3. I'm going to come to within 0.3 kilometers. 0.3 kilometers, 300 meters. Ah, too far. Okay. And I can adjust it again if I want, just because I feel bad that I just screwed it up. That was at 0.2, and you know. Going to go retrograde now, see how that is. I'm on my retrograde marker. I'm going to decrease it again, decrease my orbit, just to make it go the other way. And that's really it. It's a lot of... Oh, I shut it off and it went the other way anyway. One more time. I'm burning practically no fuel in these tiny, precise burns. It's something I've got used to in doing docking with no monopropellant. And at this point, if you want to use monopropellant, you're welcome to, for these fine adjustments. Hit your R key, and utilize your monopropellant. I just can't. Okay, fine. It doesn't matter. Don't be that picky when you're docking. It really is okay. Now, disclaimer again. I do not use monopropellant often, which means I don't balance these very much often. So hopefully I've done a good job. I'm going to try to balance out my fuel. Actually, this is a waste of time now because I'm going to be using it and have to change it again. Good times. But I don't use monopropellant to dock very often. It's great for precise movements like docking, but it's not necessary. You can do it without it. And you will probably see how I do it even while I'm using monopropellant, because I won't use it the way normal people do. It's a little odd. It requires knowing more controls. This way gives you a better understanding of how the mechanics are working. And I promise it will make a lot more of your endeavors better. Now, what's going to happen? From here on, I'm not going to be on this map at all. We're not going to use the map. The map can't really help you when you start getting this close. The key here is once you get to your closest approach with the station, it said it was going to be about 800. We'll trust it on that. Turn retrograde. Alright? Now, if for some reason you're not, your velocity marker isn't on target, put it on target. Burn retrograde, burn hard, and what we're doing, and I'm going to adjust because it's moving, is lowering our velocity relative to the station. If it's a smaller one, you could use what's it called? Monopropellant for that. Oh, it's wigging out because I'm wobbling and my center of mass is wobbling, so it's having a hard time saying where it's actually going. And good enough. Okay. You don't have to get it precise, you just got to get it close. Now what we want to do is start burning toward the station. You can use your regular fuel if you want to, or you can use your monopropellant. You don't want to get going too fast toward your station, because you do have to stop yourself going. But you want to get fast enough that it's not, you know, boring the shit out of you. Let's go a little closer. And of course you can do it real slow and then time warp, but it's not going to stay there. And we'll demonstrate that by time warping. Because our orbits aren't perfectly aligned. And so we'll get close to each other, but see how it's drifting away. Notice how it's the retrograde marker, or sorry, the prograde marker is drifting away from this target marker. Again, the pink target marker, the circle with the dot in it, is where your target is. That's what you want to burn toward. And to demonstrate this burning toward idea, our target velocity's gone down to 0.7. That's because we're not going straight at it. You don't always burn right on the pink marker. Sometimes you need to burn past it to drag that marker over. Just to demonstrate again, I'll go to the other side. If it's on the right here, I want to move it over to the left. I'm going to go to the left of it and drag it over. Little burns, tiny little burns. If you don't know, to shut off all of your thrust, press X. It will stop your thrust. There we go. Target is where you want to be, and to get there you click on orbital, surface, our velocity relative to the surface, and our velocity relative to our target. If for some reason you do not see this popping up, check that you have the thing you want targeted. And then cycle through by clicking on that area where it says your velocity to the target. Speeding up. By speeding up, I mean time accelerating. And we're still moving toward it, but not as much as I'd like. So let's drag our velocity down, our prograde down. Accelerate some more. You just want to keep yourself on a general heading toward it. You don't want to slam into it, so when we get close, we want to start pointing retrograde. In fact, right now, we're going to do that. And to find your retrograde, just go in a circle away from your prograde, and you will find it one way or the other. It's the beautiful thing about circles, spheres. All roads lead back to where you were. Now, when we get closer, we're going to burn retrograde to get to 0 relative to our target. As close as it can get. To do that, turn your reference frame, and you see we're going to kind of pass it. We're going away from it, not perfectly horizontal, but right here will be good enough. We can get our approach going. Too much. Okay, well, this is where our CS is going to come in great handiness. We're going to start burning toward the station. And I can see it, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to select a port. Now, I'm going to try to select a port. Target the station. I know I have a port there based on my station design. I'm going to right-click on it. Set it as the target. And if you notice, the pink marker shifted just a tiny bit down there. Now we'll be heading directly for that. I'm going to do... I would kill my velocity relative to it 100%, but it's wobbling so much, I'm not really going to try it. What I am going to do is point a little over and get myself moving toward it. When you're not in docking mode, but you have your RCS on. Hold on, let me get straight, I apologize. When you want to go forward, H is your key. Ooh. And see, I'm so not used to using RCS, this is so strange. I'm pressing X to kill my throttle. So wrong. One thing you can do while you're here is you can... The beauty of RCS thrusters, you can use RCS controls, is you don't have to turn so much to do what you want to do. You could use the controls, and they will... You can do a lot of neat stuff with them. For instance, H will go forward, N will go backward. And that way you don't really have to turn too much. You could use the lateral controls. I'm not a fan, because they don't make as much sense to me. And that's really what it's about, doing what works for you and what is still efficient. If it's efficient enough and it works for you, go for it. This game's about having fun, you know. We don't all have to be the glory that are all these wonderful KSPers, Scott Manley, Sue Estra, Macy Dean, Harv, Matt Dennis, all these great guys, and I'm missing so many, so don't take that as the freaking list. But all right, this is the tedious part. It can be anyway. We're drifting a bit. I'm gonna try and fix this up. In fact, right now I'm gonna point retrograde, but then I'm going to burn backward using the N key. And you see our relative velocities going down. And now we're starting to go backward. Now, what we're going to do, I'm going to point toward this. And these do make it easy. I mean, this is simple compared to the way I do it. If you don't have it all planned out. Let's see, I'm just not getting it right here. I want to point a little below. Don't always point at it. Don't point directly at your target. Drag that retrograde, or the prograde. Why do I keep saying retrograde? Drag that marker over there. Now we're coming in at 0.5. Gosh, it's so hard to see right now because the lights were a little brighter than I wanted. We already got some sunlight here, so I guess that'll be enough. No, let's screw it. I can see better with that. We're not coming in straight on it. That's okay. We can. We could translate. And to do that, we can switch to the docking mode, which I've done. What this does is it makes your regular WASD controls your motion controls. Oh, look at that. S will move you backward. W will move you forward. A and D will move you left and right, flanking, relative, again, to your own position. And Shift and Control will move you up and down relative to your position. Now, I am going to turn and do this at 90-degree angles so that I can kind of laterally just go. Okay, and use these docking controls. Whoa, 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 whoa. When I put them back on. To enable docking controls, press Delete. To disable them, press Insert. By default. You can change these settings, I believe. Alright, and here we go. I'm going to press A to go left. And it's not necessarily about speed. If you want speed, you can time warp. You don't have to use more fuel. More monopropellant fuel. Just be careful. And when we're here, I want to stop going left, so I'm going to go right. And now I want to go up. So Shift. And we're just lining up with this docking port. Lining it up. See how on the nav ball my dot is going closer to the pink marker? That's what I'm doing. You can verify it in real life. Well, KSP is real life. Control will move us down, and that's going to be the thing to stop us relative to it. Again, it's about relative positioning and stopping yourself when you want to make new burns. And now, we're pretty much on it. I'm going to come off docking controls by pressing Insert, point a little better at it, hit F to reset and lock in my SAS right there. When you're docking, you don't want to come in too fast. If you come in too fast, it won't do its magnetic thing. And we're going to get a good zoom in here to really try and see what's going on. And actually, another trick you can use is to control from your docking port. It should help your view a little bit sometimes. Okay. Now, back to docking mode. Press W. I'm sorry, press R to re-enable my RCS, and press W. I'm coming in way too fast. And you can see I don't quite have where I need to be for it, so I'm going to maneuver right by pressing D. And yet I'm so close to it that it's drawing me to it, so I'm going to press Shift to help it up. Turn my SAS off now that it's trying to connect. It's trying pretty hard. It's having some difficulty. I'm going to get off docking mode and just kind of wiggle it myself to try to give it a little difference. You can try to see which way it's kind of doing the pendulum on your craft. Screw with it, and voila! We are docked. Look at that. Now our station has power capabilities. Which is poor, because I should have launched it with something. A generator, or even a crappy little solar panel, something. But I didn't. And I realized the failure of that video long ago, and decided, hey, forget that business. I'm going to show you a good video, or at least a slightly good video. It also has some batteries, power generation, and we're going to warp around to where the sun is, which, boom, all my panels are saying, hey, look at me, and wow, back to all power. Great. Now, the great thing about a station is if we needed fuel, obviously, we could just take it. The other great thing is, now that I have fuel here, I can just transfer it over. To transfer fuel at a station, once you've docked, you want to right-click on the two tanks you want to transfer to and from. In. Take it all. The station needs it for future missions. Right-click on this one. Again. I'm not going to give it all of it. I need enough to burn. I'm going to give it all right now, but I'm going to take it from it just enough in a second. You don't need a lot to deorbit, as you may have seen in the previous video. Okay, that mission's accomplished. We're just going to go home. Of course, you do not need to see that part. That will not teach you about docking. The only thing you need to know about docking now is how to undock. If I wanted to undock this section, which would be a poor idea because this has no command and control, and I could take it off and we could just fly away, but that would defeat the purpose. I would click undock. Not gonna do that. Here, because I'm not actually docked to it, I'm coupled to it because I don't have a reciprocating docking port. This is a docking port facing out, so other docking ports that are facing out can dock to it, like this one did. However, this section, remember, did not have the docking port. It's just coupled to it with an outward-facing docking port, so I'm going to decouple it. And notice the camera changes because the new center of mass is somewhere around here, probably more around here. To switch to my other craft, I'm going to press bracket. Okay, woohoo, craft. Now, I'm not connected to it, nor do I have a way to connect back to it. And that's okay. We're going to switch to RCS controls and back out real nice. Turn on RCS, press S to back up. Woohoo! And we're off. Now, is this the prettiest station? No. I was just showcasing docking, but it does work. It's completely doable, and it's really about whatever you want to do with it. If you have questions about docking, if you feel like there's something I didn't cover adequately or something you need to have covered better, let me know in the comments or an inbox. Happy to help out with that, and happy to do whatever it takes to help you guys out. This has been Guzworks, KSP Lessons, and I'll see you all next time.